Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian. This is the take for Market Rebellion on this Monday morning. And if you just go back to last week, it was a great week. We talked about all the different earnings that we're going to be hitting. They did, and we are still on a record pace of beats. It's been pretty extraordinary. Now, that does not always translate over to mean that just because you have beats that everything went up. Because, just to give you a small example, last week, actually, Dow was down about 300 points for the week. As a matter of fact, the NASDAQ was down about 100 points for the week. And if you look and you take a quick look over at Friday, you can see some of the bulk of that movement. Matter of fact, the Dow was down about 185 points on Friday. NASDAQ was down about 119 points. NASDAQ gave up the 14,000 level. The Dow itself gave up the 34,000 level. Well, we've recaptured both today, but we'll get to today in just a second. The stories for me that really were most important about last week were a couple of different ones. So one was the spike that we got in volatility. Now, we've been talking about this volatility being very low and not really a lot of movement there, but we got a pretty decent spike in volatility last week. As a matter of fact, we went up about 5% on Friday, pushed up towards 19, didn't quite close there, but in the mid-upper 18s, so that was something. Crude just continues to be an interesting performer, been trading, call it somewhere between 63 and maybe 65, and that's sort of the range where we are at least right now. But when you look at Bitcoin, now that was something that did stand out absolutely on Friday. That was a monstrous move. Now, we had all the confusion and a lot of angst by a lot of different people about the previous weeks going into the weekends and all the rest of it. We were down near that 50,000 level. Well, we've bounced back pretty nicely. As a matter of fact, we were up about 7% on Friday. Believe it finished just above 57,000. So Bitcoin has definitely made some significant moves worthwhile noting. As a matter of fact, talk about significant. How about the fact that we just continue to see that volume grow and grow and grow once again? 35.5 million contracts on Friday, a huge chunk of that Tesla, over 2 million contracts trading in Tesla. You had almost 1.7 million contracts in Apple, and then NEO kind of squared it all off at the very in the third spot with 750,000 contracts. So you can see some of those volumes that we're talking about when we're talking about some of these huge volumes. There's a little bit of a percentage right there of just those three stocks influencing some of that volume, which was significant. Twitter also getting absolutely hammered on Friday, stood out, but just a lot of different movements that we were seeing throughout the day, throughout the session, and obviously towards the latter part of the day where we actually closed up now, or closed the day, but it closed down actually. Now, today, pre-market, strong. We were looking at everything was up. As a matter of fact, S&P was up about 20 plus points. You look over at the Dow, it's up about 200 points. NASDAQ, not as much, but up about 40 points. The NASDAQ's been kind of wavering between, since the opening now, from between up about 20, maybe even got close to flat for a moment, and up about 50 or so points. On the other hand, the Dow's actually been up and over 300 points just in this first hour of trade. It pulled just a little bit back off of that, but it was up over 330 points early on. Now, what were some of the drivers? Financials, industrials, materials, energy. Sounds pretty familiar, right? When we talk about a lot of the leadership of late, those have been the absolute categories, both on the upside and the downside, but certainly as we are pushing towards record highs, gives you a little idea that a lot of that has been that push to the upside. So the last I looked, the financials were up somewhere close to 1%. Materials, a little over 1%. You had industrials, they were also around 1%, but it was energy that was leading early on. Valero, ExxonMobil, those kinds of names. We had Caterpillar, but I'll tell you what, you go over to the material space, take a nice long look. Freeport moving once again, but US Steel, letter X. Now this thing has been an absolute monster. When it makes moves lately, the moves are going up and down in chunks. Yeah, I did say down because we've seen some downward moves as well. We popped up over 24 or 25. We pulled back down towards 20 and now pushing back up once again. Capital One, still of the financial, still one of those names that is one of my faves. I tell you, we were so lucky. And the only reason I was lucky enough to get in that name, and I looked back, September 21st, 72 bucks. Why did I get in that name? Unusual option activity. And when I was looking at it, I said to myself, I think that this is a name that actually warrants me buying the stock rather than the options. It's exactly what we've been doing. We've been doing this buy right portfolio with that, which is a lot of the long stock positions that I have, looking for nice, big, fat, meaty premiums out of the money to sell. that's been kind of what we've been doing with that one. As a matter of fact, we entered that into the cash flow portfolio that we've got over here at Market Rebellion. We're going to be taping that in about an hour as well. So give you a chance just to take a look at that when you want to. Crude somewhere near 64. That's interesting. Bitcoin up another 3%, up pushing towards that 59,000 level. Just an amazing move. We were just talking about that. But the story of today, I think, is Mohawk. And the reason I bring up this name, if you don't know the name, it's flooring. It's all those things that go into rehab and all the rest of that as far as a lot to do with the housing market. Well, we all know what's going on with the housing market. So makes a little bit of sense that this name would be hitting 52-week highs, putting up some really big numbers. And the stock was up anywhere between 7-9%. But absolutely, if just a great read through. Another one, I'm going to give you two unusual options. My first one's going to be Uber, and the second one's going to be tied into the housing world as well. But Uber, stock was trading just above 55 bucks. We had a buyer of 4,000 of the May 7th expiring 55.5 calls. They're spreading those against the 60.5. So what does that mean? First of all, you want to get that knowledge, and we have a great team here that I think does an absolutely amazing job. But I'll give you a quickie. So you're buying one strike and you're selling the higher strike. That's the spread that people are looking at right now, sometimes called a vertical. But buying the 55.5, 4,000 of those, and they're selling, hedging off the upside at the 60.5. So that's one. That's Uber. Now, I talk about housing. How about Home Depot, and how about the run that we've seen in this? And I've always said this since I came on CNBC, January 2007. It's Christmas in the springtime for Home Depot. It's springtime. It's Christmas, and I'm telling you, the lots are packed. Stocks has been absolutely a fantastic performer, and somebody's out there thinking maybe there's even a little bit more performance coming, because stock was trading 326, traded all the way up to 330, and during that process, part of what was moving that was some serious buying of some calls. Also, May 7th, these are Friday expiring as well. May 7th, the 332.5 calls. I know that's a lot, but the $332.50, those calls, about 8,100 of those calls they started off a little bit over $1, got all the way up over 2.25 or something like that. We got the graphics up there for you on that. I'll tell you what, it's just amazing. They just keep coming after certain names. Home Depot, definitely one of those names where they've been pretty aggressive. They've been buying, and the stock has been just following along very, very well with the unusual options. And we're seeing some more unusual options today. We'll see how much of a move that stock can make. But doesn't mean it's an absolute, but they're very, very short dated, gives you a little bit of an opportunity, but you don't have a whole lot of time. So this has to happen this week. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you tonight on Fast Money, 5 o'clock Eastern. Until then, we do have our cash flow portfolio also coming up at 10:30. So for all those that are interested, take a look at that as well on the Market Rebellion site. Have a great day of trading.